Thank you once again for joining us. And when we started off at 12 o'clock, I mentioned we had three things that we wanted to make sure that or the fire chief actually gave us rules that we needed to follow. One was that we were going to keep it very informal, have a good time, enjoy each other's company. And this was much more of a time of fellowship than it was a formal retirement celebration. So as I see the fire chief still making his rounds, I mean, that's awesome. That's what we want, is to have that fellowship with him. For the folks that missed it, so the fire chief, he's very interested in pictures. He's very interested in your stories and comments that you have for him. So throughout, in the back of the on the back wall and at the cupcakes, which I'll make a note of the cupcakes. There's still lots of cupcakes over there, so make sure you get more cupcakes. We've got some QR codes, so make sure you hit those QR codes. And that's going to bring you to a site to where you can upload pictures, you can upload stories, you can upload some comments, and then we're going to put that all together for the fire chief. So he's got a commemorative storybook and picture album. So please take advantage of that. We'll have that open until January 12th, and then we'll close that down. So again, once again, thank you for joining us. We do have quite a number of distinguished guests here today. And I'm going to ask that you please hold your applause until everybody's been recognized. And I'm going to just ask for your forgiveness. I'm sure I'm going to miss some folks, so forgive me for that. But for our city of Chesapeake, we have our mayor with us, Dr. Rick West. Thank you, Mayor, for being here. From our Chesapeake City Council, we have Mr. Jeff Bunn, Mr. Don Carey, Ms. Debbie Ritter, and Mr. Daniel Whitaker. Thank you from our city council for joining us. And we have, I think, just about everybody from our city manager staff. So from our city manager's office, we've got Mr. Chris Price, Deputy City Manager Bob Geis, Dr. Wanda Bernard Bailey, Ms. Laura Fitzpatrick, and Mr. Brian Solis. Thank you, and you have a bunch of your staff here. Thanks for joining us today. From our constitutional officers, we have our Commonwealth's Attorney, Mr. Matt Hamill. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. From our police department, we've got our police chief, Colonel Mark Selesky, and our deputy chief of police, Lieutenant Colonel Tracy Branch. And I'm almost positive I saw retired Chief Kelvin Wright. There he is. He's back in the back. Hey, Chief, how are you? From our sheriff's office, we have our undersheriff, David Rosado, and our chief deputy, Chris Pascal. Also joining us today, we have our previous Chesapeake City Council member and our previous fire chief and a lifelong friend of Chief Elliot, Steve Best. Steve Best is here. Thank you, Chief, for being here. Our previous city manager, Mr. Jim Baker. When we have multiple representations from various fire departments throughout the area, including Kenny Pravitz from Virginia Beach, Loy Center from Chesterfield, and we have Jimmy Gray, who started his career in Chesapeake. I think I don't know if, there he is, Jimmy Gray. He started his career here in Chesapeake, and then he went to be the chief in Hampton, and now he's the vice mayor of Hampton. So Jimmy, thank you for joining us today. We also have Mike Lamonia with the Chesapeake School Board, and then finally Dr. Welch, our health director. And thank you everybody for joining us, and I apologize if I missed somebody, but thank you very much, all of our guests, for joining us today. All right, so now we're gonna roll right into some speakers. This was rule number 2. So rule number 1 was we wanted to make this informal and have a good time. Rule number 2 was we wanted to keep the speakers short, and I already told the fire chief I'm not sure we're going to be able to meet that requirement. We're going to do our best. But starting off with speakers, we have our mayor, Mayor Rick West. If you'd come up and share some words. Thank you, sir.
I didn't get the short part, but oh, that's good. I'm better when I'm doing short. Where is Ed? Where? Oh, I didn't recognize you without your uniform. Excuse me. May 1974? True? Okay. I started teaching in August of 1974, and now you're getting ready to stop. And I'd love to be following you, but not quite ready yet. You know, I have not really known Ed Elliott that long. I've known him for a long time, but for just the last couple of years, I've really gotten to know him as a person and as a leader. And I got to tell you, I love leadership. I love looking at leadership. I look at evaluating leadership. I got to say, Ed, you're probably one of the best leaders that I've ever met. You really and truly are. I'm just going to give you a couple of 4 reasons why I think he is the best leader, one of the best leaders I've ever met. Harry Blevins is still up there, really, really, really high. But there are 4 components that I think that are so important to be a good leader. And I think number 1 is integrity. And I don't think I have to give you too many examples of how much integrity that Chief Elliot has. He's a guy who makes the right decisions for the right reasons. He's always honest with people, whether it's good news or bad news. He's just the kind of a person that when he tells you something, you know that it's true. The second component, I think, of good leadership is a person who is unpresumptuous. You know, he doesn't walk into the room and own the room. In fact, you probably don't even know he's there because he's just probably sat in the back. Unlike me, he doesn't wear the uniform to try to impress other people. I mean, I know a lot of people. In fact, I even put on I got to tell you a story I probably shouldn't tell you. I put on a sheriff's uniform when I proposed to my wife. I thought it was the only way I could get her. So you don't wear a uniform to get the babes. You wear a uniform because to represent an organization that does great things for people. The other thing I think is important as a leader, you got to be a loving guy, which means I think you got to put people before you put yourself in it. I mean, you all know, don't have to give you any examples. Ed is always service to others, always putting his organization first before his own glory or before his own credit. He's just the kind of guy that just you want to that just is there for the right reasons. And finally, a good leader has to be decisive. And can you imagine a police chief that's not decisive? I mean, you get well, let's think about whether we're going to send somebody to that station or not. They don't do that. They have to make a decision quick, and Ed, you're a very decisive leader. So, and finally, I think I want to say this. You know, in today's society, we are having a hard time, I think, looking up to leaders. And so what we fear is when a leader leaves his position, that it's going to leave a huge gap, a huge void. But what I love about Ed is he is leaving, making this organization by the people that he's worked with and the quality of people that he's worked with even better. And he has no problem doing that. Thank you, Ed. God bless you on behalf of our whole council. God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate those words. I'll now ask our city manager, Mr. Chris Price, to come up.
Well, thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me. First of all, I'm very happy for Chief Elliott, obviously, on his retirement. I do have some trepidation about all the leadership that's walking out the door and all the experience and the things that, all that knowledge that he has, but I am comforted by the quality of the team that he's built. But I want to begin my remarks by going back 4 years. I've been city manager now for just over 4 years. I remember back to late 2019, I was interviewing with city council for the job. A lot of tough questions. I had never been a city manager before, so that's a risky proposition for council in and of itself. And I got a lot of advice, from council and other people. I knew I had worked here in the 90s and early 2000s, so I still knew a lot of the directors, although they're all gone now. I hope that's not because of me, but folks do retire. I actually worked with Councilmember Ritter. She was on the Planning Commission then in council when I was here before, so I had some opportunities to touch base with her on advice. Councilmember Hamel was on City Council at the time and gave me some advice about how good the culture is in the workforce, and not to try to force culture change. And Councilmember Best talked to me about opportunities in the city, and but one thing that you don't have to worry about is the fire department. And although he was right at the time, I'm thinking, yeah, you might be a little biased, but certainly that was proven right. But so I start in November 2019. I'm really getting my feet wet. Hit the holidays in December. Really January 2020, I'm like, okay, let's roll. I'm starting to meet my directors, learn the team, and then the pandemic hits, right? So it's right in the couple weeks before the pandemic. I haven't even really engaged with my team to a great extent yet. I've only had a couple city council meetings under my belt. And there's a lot of trepidation, if you all remember, back in early 2020. So we're sitting in the conference room on the 6th floor, and we're about to have this emergency conference call with all the city managers in the region. And sitting there with Chief Elliott and his team and Rob Braidwood in emergency management. And before we get on the call, they slide a binder across the table and say, we need you to sign that. I said, what is it? They said, it's our global pandemic plan. We've been working on this thing for years. I'm like, who's been working on a global pandemic plan, right? But that's who the city of Chesapeake is. We're really well prepared. We prepare. We do a lot of blue sky training. We think through things that could happen when times are good, so that we're prepared to take care of the community and take care of each other when things are challenging. And certainly there have been a lot of challenges over the past few years. And so my journey with Ed is in those past years. So Ed, along with Dr. Welch, they were co-incident commanders during the pandemic. So it was a state of emergency for a very long time. It had we rolled back and scaled back operations in a lot of different ways, but we continued to provide services. We really kept rolling, largely due to Ed and his team. We have an amazing emergency management group, and if you've ever been to the Public Safety Operations Center, it's a really state-of-the-art facility. And so we operated city government a lot out of an emergency management posture. So I spent a lot of time with Ed and Sam and the entire team. So I got really, really comfortable with the quality of that team to carry us through lots of different emergencies. And then while that emergency is going on, we had things like, we had our traditional storms, we had some civil unrest, we've had cybersecurity challenges, lots of things where we've stood up in an emergency posture. So really some challenging, very challenging times. And then during that time, while Chief Elliott's serving as co-incident commander for the pandemic, he's the fire chief, which is obviously much more than a full-time job. He volunteered to do a deployment in our youth detention facility because we were without a superintendent. He really cares about the community. He thought his talents could be really helpful to the kids over there and to the organization. And so he really led a turnaround in our juvenile detention facility. I think a lot of people don't know that, but I was blown away at Chief Elliott's. The first retirement party that I went for Chief Elliott was actually when he was leaving as superintendent of the juvenile detention facility, and the stories that the staff and the kids shared about how they had impacted their lives, especially the kids. So they're not there by choice. They've been ordered there, and Chief Elliott used it as an opportunity to try to turn their lives around. And he's an amazing leader. So I've had a chance to think through, who can do that? Who can handle all of those challenges? You throw anything at him, and he can just handle anything through the most challenging times. When we have emergencies, everybody's the tendency is people want to freak out, and we stand up these emergency operations, and Chief Elliott's he's so calm. You all know he's so mild-mannered, and I start thinking, well, he can handle anything we throw at him. He's got this mild-mannered, easy temperament, and so I started to have some suspicions. And so as Chief Sam, was, and the team, they're cleaning out his locker, and we made a startling discovery. And you all might have really guessed, but Chief Elliot, yep, he definitely is. So I knew it. He takes those glasses off, and it's like, how do we not know this, right? But he really is Superman, and he's done everything for this city. We've leaned on him so much as an organization, as your 4,000 teammates here in the city government, but certainly as a community, the 250,000 residents, 10,000 businesses, and then your peers in the profession, really leaning on you for guidance, expertise, and support. You really, really are Superman. But even Superman deserves to rest, Chief, and I know that it's a difficult decision, but it is a very, very well-deserved retirement. I know you're going to find lots of things to keep yourself active and engaged in the community, but on behalf of a very, very grateful city and team, thank you so much for everything you've done. We've got a couple other gifts in the goodies box, but I'll leave you with this one. It's a Chesapeake flag that we had framed in the shadow box in your honor. These aren't gifts that we give lightly, but this is on behalf of City Council and the City Manager's Office, and really your entire team here in Chesapeake. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Price. There was some exciting times in 2019 and 20, wasn't it? Now we've got Mr. Bob Geis, if you want to come on up and share some words.
Okay, so when they ask you to speak, never follow your boss, and never follow your boss's boss. What? Really, Ed, I just want to say a couple things, and I've told you all this before, so this is not going to be a surprise or something you've never heard before. I've been blessed to be around a lot of great leaders throughout my life, both in the Navy and here, and I would put you at the top of the heap of leaders I've been blessed to work with. How you treat people, whether they're senior to you, your peers, or subordinates, it doesn't matter. You are a man of grace and dignity, and you just exude goodness. And those are just innate qualities. You can't teach that to people. That's just who you are. And I know that through my years of working with you, I've become a better leader as well. And you're leaving the department in great hands. You have trained your team to a level that's pretty unbelievable. So I know and you know that the department and the city's in great hands. And that's not an accident. That's because you care so deeply about the team that you couldn't possibly leave unless you knew that the trajectory would stay the same. The culture, how we treat each other in the stations and how we treat our citizens is a direct relation to who you are and what you have taught your team. So, from the bottom of my heart, and I think I speak for everybody when I say, not only am I a better leader because of you, Ed Elliott, it's because I'm a better person because of you as well. And I would like to do one thing. A lot of times when you talk about, being top rated, it's like a AAA rated, right? AAA bond rating and things like that. I'd like to change that, and the top rating is EEE.
Thank you, Mr. Geis. It's a good suggestion. I think we'll follow through with it. Next up, we've got our previous Chesapeake City Council member and our previous fire chief, and again, lifelong friend of Chief Elliott, is Steve Best. So come on up, Chief.
Chief Golisano, your comment was a self-fulfilling prophecy. You have just lost control. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Mr. City Manager, City staff, my good friend and distinguished guest, Chief Ed Elliott, welcome. You know, firefighters don't start anything unless they have a very clear mission. We're very mission focused, and it just becomes part of our DNA. So I wanted to start today with just a few comments. Now, I will say that first, we simply want to say thank you and goodbye to a fellow firefighter who many in this room, I see a lot of retirees in here that when I started my career, they were in the fire stations with us. We've been connected to Ed both personally and professionally for many, many years. And it's great to see everybody and to be here for such a positive celebration as we are assembled here at Khedive Temple. We're here to celebrate a steadfast focus and commitment of one individual who for almost 50 years has dedicated his entire life to serving the needs of our community, often at the expense of his family, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, for 49 and a half years. Who many times reported for duty when he did not feel like it, I know that personally. Who oftentimes missed opportunities to celebrate with family because he was too focused on the mission of constantly and forever looking for ways to improve the quality of life of people that he served in our great city. But not only that, he also served our firefighters and our paramedics and our public safety brothers and sisters, our fellow city employees, not only here in Chesapeake, folks, but he's made an indelible mark as a legacy in the Commonwealth of Virginia and in the United States of America, because I don't think that there's a fire department anywhere in this country that today could stand up to the Chesapeake Fire Department. I know we've got some sojourning fire chiefs that's come in, and I'm being biased, but we have a wonderful fire department, and part of that is in part because we have good folks, but we have had good leadership in Ed Elliott. And perhaps more importantly, the part of the mission here today is to celebrate and dedicate a stellar career that's truly made a difference. And he is leaving this city in a much better place than it was when he first walked through that door of Fire Station 8 in Deep Creek way back in May of 1974. Now, before I offer a few more remarks, I want to make 2 points. First, it has been a tough challenge for me. Fire Chief Sam Golisano invited me to say a few words, but with strict admonition that I was not to speak for more than, quote, a few minutes. That's not very well defined, folks, and that's, you know, it's like you open a door. And my challenge has been how I first met Ed. I came from the high school. I had a study hall, and I was a volunteer at Deep Creek when he arrived as a paid firefighter. It was in May of '74. I was a senior, a graduating senior, had already made the decision that I too wanted to pursue a career in the fire service. And so I walked through the fire station door, and I see this guy sitting in there. He's about my age. He's a young kid. So I asked him, I said, "You're the new guy?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, where are you from?" He said, "Well, you know me." He said, I'm Ed Elliott. I graduated with your brother from high school." And I said, "I didn't recognize you because you cut all your hair off." So, second, I also want to make a point. I would like to point out that Ed spoke at my retirement celebration in late '09, and he was very gracious. He did not reveal any of the antics and shenanigans that we as firefighters shared both on and off duty. And Ed, I know that you were ever mindful at my retirement because you knew that this day would sometime arrive and I would have the last word. But please rest easy. I certainly intend to extend that same courtesy to you, and we'll just save all those stories and those shenanigans when we're fully retired and we can just sit around the campfire and chew the fat and share the memories. So today I really want to be just a few, and I will be, Sam, I'm just going to be a few more seconds. I want to share just be a little bit more focused and not only celebrate the service of my good friend Ed Elliott, but to celebrate his accomplishments, to celebrate his dedication, to celebrate his sacrifices, his dreams, his hopes, his aspirations that we shared with each other throughout our careers. But more importantly, I'd like to reflect upon the person of Ed Elliott, my brother and best friend for almost 50 years, who I grew to admire and respect because of who he was as a person, the all-important stuff that really matters, the steadfast character that comes from the inside out, the stuff that formed the foundation of a great friendship and an indelible bond that has endured the past 6 decades that we still enjoy today. You see, Ed and I share a lot of similarities, but we're also completely different in many respects. It was an interesting combination. We grew to know and understand each other. And whether we were firefighters on the fire ground or administrative officers for the fire department, we always seemed to know what the other was going to do in any given situation, many times without ever speaking a word. There are also many times when I was seen as the giddy up, and Ed Elliott was definitely the whoa. He was calm during many of our storms. He always presented a steady state. He did it with poise and grace. And I often said that I would never want to play poker with Ed Elliott because he brings a whole new meaning to the term poker face. You would never be able to read what he was going to do next. So let me share real quick in closing some qualities that I learned in my career with Ed. He's always had a clear vision, both personally and professionally. He's been a great communicator, both verbal and in writing. He was able to inspire others to lead and others to follow. He made tough decisions when he needed to. He stood by them, regardless of the consequences. If he felt it was right, it was the right thing to do. And he was always seeking to learn and grow, constantly and forever, throughout his entire career. His walk has been one of gratitude, genuine concern for people. He was always observant, quick to perceive a need, open-minded, had an obedient faith walk in every aspect of his life. And in that regard, he's always been dedicated and determined, disciplined, and diplomatic when diplomacy was needed most. He was dependable and driven when compelled by the need to accomplish a goal. He was a great listener, very logical when considering an action, making a decision. He was intensely loyal. And finally, he had a yearning and passion to pursue excellence in everything he did, and a yielding in that he sought to work hard to help people with their requests. Now, folks, these qualities I just listed for you, gratitude, genuine, observant, obedient, dedicated, determined, logical, and yearning and yielding, are actually an acronym that in my personal experience sums up the life of my great friend and brother, Ed Elliott, and that is godly. His walk has been one that has been grounded in a deep and abiding faith, who was without a doubt called by God to achieve excellence in public safety and use his God-given fruits to continue to achieve greatness in all the outcomes in his service to our city, whose life and career can be summed up with one piece of scripture: well done, thy good and faithful servant. And Ed, one final thought I'd like to offer, and that is the constancy and the consistency of your character. It's been sit up here at the dais this afternoon, and that seems to be a unifying theme. You see, I knew Ed Elliott from May of 1974, and he has served with a strong sense of impeccable character, maintaining a high degree of honesty, integrity, trust, and respect, and as such has not only helped the Chesapeake Fire Department, but the entire city of Chesapeake to become that city upon a hill, that shining example that is worthy for all to follow. And Ed, as we celebrate your successes today, we also know that you, our fire department leadership that will succeed you, and the entire fire department family have well positioned this city to be better able to rise up to the challenges that the future will hold for us, both known and unknown, with firm assurances that being true to our city's motto, with one increasing purpose, Chesapeake will continue to flourish and be the greatest city to live, learn, work, farm, and play. Ed, my friend, these words and the time spent providing these thoughts seem so inadequate to pay a rightful homage to your career and your service to our city. It can't be summed up in a 10-minute speech. So I leave you with a simple blessing. May God bless and keep you in Godspeed as you move into this next phase of your life. And may God continue to bless this great Chesapeake Fire Department in this great city of Chesapeake. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Fire Chief, for sharing those words. I know that meant a lot to Chief Elliott. Thank you. So next, we're going to invite Captain Tony Barricat up, and as he's coming up, I do want to share Tony is the past president of Local 2449. He served in many roles in the union throughout the years. And I shared during Captain Byrd's promotional ceremony a couple weeks ago that the relationship that we have, our fire administration, our fire department has with the local is the envy of every fire chief and every union president in the United States. And evidence of that is the hall that you see here today that we're in. The union stepped up and they actually paid for the accommodations for today. So to Tony and to the union, thank you very much for that.
All right, good afternoon. I am going to start with a little story of karma real quick. So the fire chief has an administrative coordinator, Michelle Murphy. And Michelle, where are you at? Where are you at, Michelle? All right, perfect. Thank you for that. So Michelle's very first day with the fire chief as his administrative coordinator, obviously we know that's a tall order. There's a lot of things that she's got to do, and I think I'm funnier than I am in real life. I recognize that. But I made some kind of joke about, I don't know, something not going exactly as it should have, and the look that Michelle shot me was pretty clear that I am not that funny. So the definition of karma is this. I can tell she never forgot that, because as I looked at the program today and I realized I get to speak after Chief Best, who's one of the best speakers I've ever heard, I can see that this is her karma for me, and I appreciate that. So hopefully this is not the funniest little part of my speech here, but I don't wear my glasses that often, so here we go. All right. Good afternoon, Chief Elliott, and welcome family and friends as we celebrate a remarkable career. I'm here as a member of this amazing department, a friend, and a representative of IFF Local 2449. I'm grateful to be able to highlight some of the things that you've helped our union accomplish. For those of you who don't know, the IFF stands for the International Association of Firefighters and is the largest labor union in the U.S. and Canada. For firefighters. Local 2449 was chartered June 20th, 1975, and since we know that my math is accurate, that's about a year after you started with Chesapeake. Now, prior to work for Chesapeake, I lived and worked in Massachusetts and was part of another large labor union. It was a requirement to join the union at my former job. Now, often when people think labor unions, there's an automatic assumption that labor and admin have to be at odds. I experienced that at my former job, and there we go. I experienced that at my former job in Mass, where it was explained to me that the only way the union could be successful was to quote-unquote fight with admin. This mindset never sat well with me, and truth be told, it never seemed to be successful at getting anything accomplished. When I joined the CFD in 2009, I joined Local 2449. I've always believed in the power that a union can have when the right leadership and relationships are in place. And a few years after joining, an opportunity presented itself, and I joined the executive board. The executive board of the union is charged with fulfilling the needs and wants of the membership to the best of its ability. Now, unlike Mass, joining the union in Chesapeake is an option and not a requirement. And it quickly became obvious that our membership expected more from its leadership, and that's where you come in. Strong leadership in the CFD isn't hard to find, and it's not a unique trait to you. But what is unique is how well you've applied your leadership and support towards our union. I can think of two major lessons you've taught me personally. First, and probably the most important, is that you should never, ever upset the administrative coordinator of the fire chief. I can speak from experience that doing so will haunt you for years. The second, and the reason our union has been so successful, is the power of relationships. Over the 13 years I sat on the executive board of the union, you helped us build relationships, and you got us a seat at the table with the decision makers in the city. You've empowered us to speak our minds and present solutions to problems our memberships identified. You've helped erase the imaginary line between labor and administration, and that has helped us become a better department and union. With your help, our members have seen significant improvements in pay, benefits, and working conditions. What's even better about what you've done for us is that through succession management, you've set up the union for success at all levels within our department. Your encouragement for the executive board to pick up the phone and talk to members of your command staff has helped avoid misunderstandings and led to swift resolutions on matters that affect our members. What I admire most about that is that many of the changes you've supported haven't affected you at all. You've simply supported them because it was the right thing to do. To close, I want to talk about servant leadership. This term is something I've heard throughout my career, and I admit that when I first heard it, it wasn't my favorite term. But you taught me many years ago that a reader is a leader, and a leader is a reader. So a while back, I decided to look up what servant leadership really was. The explanation I like the most is, a servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of the people and communities to which they belong. While traditional leadership focuses on the exercise of power by the individual at the top of the pyramid, servant leadership shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. I can't think of a more accurate description of how you have led this department, Chief. So Fire Chief, on behalf of IFF Local 2449 and our President, Richard Byrd, I want to thank you for your support, your encouragement, and the motivation to improve the lives of our members. Thank you for leaving our department and union in the capable hands of Chief Gilisano and what will soon be his command staff. I truly love where our department and union have been, and I can't wait to see where we go. Thanks for listening. Congratulations on your retirement, Chief, and good luck with your future endeavors.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate those words. So I get the dubious honor of being the last speaker. So that means I've got to kind of avoid and transition through all those things that have already been said. So I'm going to try and do that as best as I can. But there's been a lot that's been said about the fire chief, and I really don't have a whole lot more that I can add to it. But I am going to put just a little bit of a different spin on it. So Chief Elliott has been instrumental in so many things. He's an exceptional leader and an even better human being. His career spans over 6 different decades, and he has not only witnessed so much change over that time period, he's often been the driving force behind it. His impact on our department and our community cannot be overstated. And we know that Chief Elliott's success in the department and the community came at a cost. And that cost was often paid in the way of sacrifices made by his family, his wife Teresa, their kids, grandkids, extended family, and friends. And I know the chief hates being in the spotlight, so we're going to take it off of him for just a moment and again recognize and thank the family for your support, sacrifice, and steadfastness throughout his career with the fire department. So to Chief Elliott's family, thank you. So in true Chief Elliott fashion, he was very specific that he didn't want a big celebration, didn't want speeches, didn't want to make this a big thing. He would have quietly rode off in the sunset if he would have had it his way, but we just wouldn't let him do that. It has indeed been an honor to work for the fire chief, and I've been so fortunate in my career that Chief Elliott has been my direct supervisor for 3 of my assignments for a total of 12 years. So over those 12 years, we've spent a lot of time together, and I've learned a lot about him. And I might be wrong, but I think 12 years is the longest that anyone has actually served under the fire chief and survived. But as I was thinking about today, I thought I could share a bunch of war stories with you, but I'm not going to do that. Well, maybe I'll share just one. Just one. It's a good one, though. And it just happened the other day. It was just before 8 o'clock, and a structure fire is dispatched on Wesley Road, right down the street, or on the same street the fire chief lives on. As soon as the dispatch is complete, Chief Elliott keys up the radio, states that he's on the scene, gives a size up, and starts setting the scene up for success. So remember, our units are still several minutes away, so the fire chief is on his own in the middle of a working structure fire. That doesn't happen every day. So once our units get on scene, one of the most important things that they can do, or they have to do, is set up an uninterrupted water supply, which typically means dragging big, heavy hose to a fire hydrant. So what does a 68-year-old fire chief with 50 years of experience do? He grabs that 5-inch and helps those firefighters get that water supply hooked up. So once a firefighter, always a firefighter. Good job, Fire Chief. I could share many more war stories, but I'm going to take Chief Best's cue, and I'm not going to do that. I could give many examples of all the great things he's accomplished in his career, the many advances our department has made because of his leadership, the countless lives that he has impacted, the literally hundreds of awards and accolades that he has been presented with. But even if I spent the next 3 hours doing that, which I'm not going to do, it still wouldn't sum up who he is and what he means to the department. And honestly, I've struggled to adequately put those words down. So I'm just not going to do that. What I will say is Chief Elliott has been a great boss and an even better person. I think everyone would say he was one of the most consistent and dependable employees the city has ever had. Serving almost 50 years of that is an example, and I would agree. However, as I reflected on my time with Chief Elliott, I would suggest that there is definitely a dichotomy. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines dichotomy as two mutually exclusive, contradictory things. So essentially, you can't be both. You can't be happy and you can't be sad. The light's either red or it's green. It's either hot or it's cold. You're either a Yankees fan or a Red Sox fan. You either bought into the hype of the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing or you didn't. So you see what I'm saying? You're either one end of the spectrum or the other, but you can't be both. But when I thought about Chief Elliott, I'd have to disagree. He actually is a walking, talking dichotomy. He has absolutely been able to live and operate at the highest level at both ends of the spectrum, whatever that spectrum is. Now, before you run me out of here for this blasphemy, just bear with me for a minute, and I'm going to share some examples. He is consistent, dependable, and steady, yet very flexible and adaptive. He's in complete control of his ego, but he is ultra competitive. He has a sweet and kind spirit, but he will surround, attack, and kill any problem or challenge that he's faced with. He is naturally quiet and reserved, but is a gifted public speaker. He's a man of faith, yet very practical and pragmatic. He's a strategic thinker, yet he's tuned in to the tiniest detail. He's an inspiration to many, but he is also inspired by others. He's a great leader, but he's a great follower. He loves and honors our history and tradition, but is often the driving force behind change. He's a trailblazer and innovator, and sometimes when he's there, he finds himself on his own, but he loves the company of others. He's patient, but he's very action-oriented. He's kind and tender-hearted, but has a warrior spirit. He loves people, but he's equally happy being alone, kayaking the waters of Virginia. He expects greatness from others, but expects even higher levels of excellence from himself. He's full of wisdom, but always looking to learn more. He is full of love and forgiveness, but expects accountability and performance. He's trustworthy and loyal, yet always changing and improving. He's stoic and reserved, but he is as witty as any firefighter you'll ever come across. And I could go on, but I think you get the picture. He is a true dichotomy. But this dichotomy is what makes him so unique. It's what makes him so effective. It's what makes him the leader that he is. And again, I could list the hundreds of initiatives, programs, and awards and recognition that he's implemented or received over the years. And those are all great things. And they have made our organization one of the country's premier fire departments. We are nationally recognized for so many things, which is due to Chief Elliott and his leadership. However, if you ask him, one of the things he is most proud of is simply the people. It's the people in our department. It's the people he has served with over the years. It's the people that influenced him. It's the people he got to serve over a long and distinguished public service career. It's the people. It's simply the people he has impacted over his career and his life. So to Chief Elliott, thank you for your long and distinguished career. Thank you for your selfless service to our department, our members, and our community. Thank you for your leadership and your friendship over these many years. And thank you for that dichotomy. Thank you that you can be all things to all people. Thank you that you couldn't be constrained by a definition. Thank you that you took your gifts and talents and shared them with us and made us all better by knowing you. So may God bless you, guide you, and keep you in this next phase of your life. So I mentioned we had those 3 rules that we had to live by. Make it fun, make it informal. You know, we're going to have a good time doing this. I think we accomplished that one. The speakers, like I said, I think we didn't do too bad. You got to give me 50% on that. How about that, Fire Chief? All right. Now the gift thing, like I said, we blew that. So again, I'll encourage folks to again hit that QR code so you can upload those stories and pictures. That's important, so please take advantage of that. We're going to do that through July 12th. But we do have a couple gifts for the Fire Chief, so Fire Chief, I'm going to ask you to come on up. And he's retiring, so I don't think he can, well, he's got a couple days he can still fire me, but. So the Fire Chief, he loves, there's some things in his life that he just enjoys doing. He has a good time doing it. Some of those things are, he loves kayaking. He loves history. He loves learning about different things. He loves the getting out in the outdoors and doing some hiking. He enjoys Jeeps. So your command staff, along with the emergency management staff, kind of got an adventure for you. I didn't get you a Jeep, no. I got you a Jeep you can ride in, though. How about that? So we got you an adventure in a western part of North Carolina that it's going to have some history in it. You're going to hit the Biltmore. You're going to do some kayaking. You're going to do some hiking. You're going to be in the woods. You're going to be hitting some waterfalls. You got that Jeep tour. We got that for you, too, so you're going to enjoy that. And we also followed your directions. We made a nice donation to the Chesapeake Employee Hardship Program. So on behalf of the command staff, again, we want to wish you well on your retirement. So I know I wasn't the only one that didn't follow directions on gifts, so I think we've got a couple other presentations that want to be made. So if you have a presentation, feel free to come on up. Earl, come on up.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Earl Sawyer. I'm the Director of Public Works, and I was just 4 years old the first time that I met with Chief Elliott, and the details of that first meeting are a little bit hazy. I remember Steve Best was there, and we discussed the Deep Creek Bridge replacement. So, but we do have a couple of things to share with Chief Elliott. So. So, Chief, you led the way for us, so it's a privilege to be able to present you with Chief Elliott Way. Thank you so much. And one more, Chief. bin. Okay, this is a survey and benchmark. It has the chief's name and years of service on it, but to fully understand the importance of this, I've asked Michael Delano, our city surveyor, to tell us just how we use these, not only in public works, but in the entire development community.
Thanks, Earl. All of the locations of the city's infrastructure are based on a network, and there are approximately 400 of these discs around the city that ensure that all of our construction plans, all of the locations of the items in our GIS system are all on the same exact grid. So when you open a GIS application and you see that the fire hydrants and the aerial mapping and all of the property parcels fall exactly into place, it is because of this network of discs. It's elemental to the city, and I'm very happy to present you with this.
So the chief's been our benchmark. It's our privilege to present a benchmark to him today, and I can say he is the first non-engineer to ever be presented a benchmark like that from Public Works. So.
All right, I think we got a couple more out there.
Chief, it's been said time and time again here this afternoon of how much you're going to be missed by the fire department, but I would be remiss to not come up and say how much you're going to be missed by the police department as well. You're a very important part of this public safety team, and I can't tell you how many times our guys have counted on you and your guys for support, whether being stuck outside on calls in the brutal heat or freezing cold, and you dispatching your folks with a rehab truck to see that we were well cared for. We have a great partnership, and the city's lucky to have had you, and we're lucky to have had you. So we just got you a little small token for your work desk in retirement, which I'm sure you're going to have.
Dashboard of my Jeep.
Which says, presented to Edmund E. Elliott, Fire Chief. Thank you for your nearly 50 years of dedicated service to the city of Chesapeake and the many years of friendship and support you have given to the Chesapeake Police Department. We're going to miss you, Chief.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Police Chief. Okay. Any other presentations out there? He set you up.
Go for it. So a little backstory. I'm John, Chief Elliott's oldest son. I'm in the Virginia Beach Fire Department and a captain out there. So there's a little backstory to the gift. When I was promoted in Virginia Beach, my dad gave me his first fire helmet that he got when he was promoted, his first lieutenant helmet. So for his retirement, I wanted to give him that helmet that I earned with that promotion.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah. One more.
I'm Phil Johnson. I've never worked for the city, but I've lived here for 40-some years. And during that time, we've had an opportunity to work with everybody here. And on behalf of the citizens of Chesapeake and Hampton Roads, I want to present something to the chief. This is something that I make. Every time there's a storm, we take a tree or a limb that's come down and we turn it into a gift, a special gift. This is wood from a limb that came down from the Chesapeake Arboretum. But included in this is the headquarters for the fire department, and the city is in Great Bridge. So there's a piece of the Great Bridge from 1775. Now, my wife said I couldn't mess that up because I'd had a hard time getting that. But also we've included in here a root from the city tree, the bald cypress from Deep Creek.
Yes.
And also, I believe you worked at the Rokeby Station.
I did.
And we have a piece of wood from Rokeby Station. So one of the reasons I wanted to present this is 5 years ago, we had to make a call to the fire department. My wife had a little emergency. And when we got to the hospital, the doctor said, she's not going to make it. Well, I said, I'm going to go to Plan B just like the chief does. And we were about to celebrate our 49th anniversary, and soon we'll celebrate our 55th. So you've given us the gift of time, and I want to present you with a gift of time for your 50 years of faithful service.
Thank you so much, Phil. That means so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got Mike coming up. Thanks, Phil, for that beautiful, beautiful piece.
Chief, we're looking forward. We're looking forward. And we are going to give you the first honorary Peak Perks Award with your kayaking love that you have, with all of the memorabilia that goes to, which I know you've already done. You've kayaked everywhere in Chesapeake already. But we wanted to make sure, and Chessie wanted to make sure that he kept an eye on you doing this. But in all seriousness, you know, I worked many years in another city and really thought the fire department and those areas and all were outstanding and wonderful. And we really had great relationships with them. But boy, when you get to Chesapeake, it's another whole level totally. And I just remember one of the questions that were asked one time, and one of the things we're doing is, you know, what makes Chesapeake different? And the amazing thing of that was you always feel safe, you always feel secure, and you always feel that people care about you. And this man right here, I mean, from the first day that I came on board 12 years ago, he was always there, always available, and just leading by example, and just always leading, you know, us and just showing us through the pandemic and all. It was just a wonderful thing just to be a part of that team. And again, from Parks, Recreation, Tourism, thank you, Chief. We just can't wait, though, until next year, 4th of July. We know you'll be first in line at the paddle boats, as you are every year, to make sure you're out on Lakeside Park. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Mark. God bless you. Thank you.
All right. Got Chief Center came in from Chesterfield, and they're all, Chief Elliott and Chief Center, are old war horses, and they could really tell some stories.
Hi, brother. How are you doing?
Ed, I hadn't planned on coming up here and speaking today, but I got here like 2 hours ago, and I've been standing in line to catch up with you and wish you well wishes in your retirement. But every time I get in line, I see somebody I hadn't seen in years, and I get out of line and I lose my place. So I figured if I come up here, this way I can see you. But I'm Lloyd Center. I'm the Fire and EMS Chief in Chesterfield County, and I'm also the President of the Metropolitan Fire Chiefs Association. Before I went to Chesterfield, I was with the City of Norfolk Fire Rescue Department for 27 years and 6 years as Fire Chief there. And I can tell you, when I made Fire Chief there as a very young Fire Chief, I really leaned a lot on Steve Best and Ed, and to me, they were the Batman and Robin of the fire service. I mean, it was a big help for me as a young fire chief to be able to come and sit down with Steve and work through some of the issues that I had. And so I had this bright idea one time that maybe 2 Hampton Road cities could come together and spend millions of dollars on a joint fire training facility. In Norfolk, we needed fire training. Chesapeake, we needed fire training. And so I approached Steve and we talked about it, and he says, why don't you work with Ed on that? So we started off at Herb's Hot Dogs, and we went on a tour of the city. I think we started out, we went all through St. Bride's and Western Branch, and ultimately you can see how that turned out. But I understand you have a nice new facility that's in the plans, and certainly as I moved to Chesterfield, even though Norfolk wasn't a part of that, as I moved to Chesterfield, I was able to work with Ed and the team to hopefully make a nice addition to your fire service here. But I want to thank you for your friendship over the years, and certainly want you to stay in touch and wish you the best in retirement. And I know you're going to be outdoors, so we brought you a Chesterfield Fire and EMS sweatshirt. So there you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. It's cold in here, isn't it?
Thank you.
All right. Going once. Going twice. Anybody else out there? All right. Now, on behalf of the Fire Chief, thank you very much for those very generous and thoughtful gifts. And I think the Fire Chief has a few words he wants to share, so we'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Sam. Well, to be the great leader they claim I am, I'm amazed at the number of people that do not know how to follow instructions around this place. Kind of proves my leadership ability right there. My name is not George Washington. And as I leave office, I do not have a farewell address that's going to go down in history. And the reason is because I've had a lot of emotions for weeks, and I did not want to prepare a set of remarks and blubber my way through something that I put together. And so instead of that, I've got some things, some points from my heart that I want to share with you. And I was doing pretty good until I opened that box with the helmet in it. And from that point on, I really don't know what to expect. But whatever we do, it'll be good. The reason I asked Chief Sam to keep the speaker short, knowing that Steve Best was going to speak, and by the way, he said in conclusion 3 times in his remarks, but so I could have more time to speak. So it's a little bit of selfishness there, because I have really one message. And as I look out, and as I've been shaking hands and looking out over this crowd, I kind of, in my mind, I see 3 categories of people that are here today. One of those is the work family that I'm going to see a lot less of. And that hurts, because we do this every day. And then I see another group that I'm going to spend more time with, that I haven't spent time with, but now that group is going to spend more time with. And actually, you know, my family and my church family that's here, they're going to see more of me. And church family saying, yeah, great, that's just what we need, is to see more of you. But
But then always in a group like this, and the reality of life being what it is, there's some people that are in here today, and today is the last time we'll ever see each other. That's just how life is. We pass, and we'll never see each other. And you know, if I could boil down a message, it would be thank you. You know, that is my message for today, is thank you. And as I kind of pour out my heart with different things, the first, and it's been mentioned by a couple of speakers, I want to thank the Lord Jesus Christ, my personal Savior. And in this position, I've tried to be a reflection of Him, to bring God glory. There's no doubt that God's favor has been on me personally and on this department. And I know that there are several of you leaders that are here today, and most people, the citizens, don't know it, but we get together and we pray over this city. So some of you are here today, and God's favor is on this city, and God's favor has been on me, and God's favor has been on Chesapeake Fire Department, and I thank Him for that. I want to thank Chief Colasano, I almost said Chief Murphy, but she really is Michelle Murphy. Well, she might as well be the chief. But I have put them through so much over this event, from the day it started. You know, I said I want it small, I want it informal. I don't want any speakers. You know, the retirements, I've been to so many of those things. They look like theatrical productions. The speakers, it's just like a funeral. They tell half-truths. They only tell the good part. You know, at a retirement, they just tell good stuff. You already know what they're going to say. And so let's just do something at the Deep Creek Log Cabin. And then after about a week or so into this, I was watching them struggle, and I broke two cardinal rules of leadership. One is I set them up for failure by giving them something that was impossible, a goal that was unattainable, because they said it's going to be big, and it is. And they said there's a lot of people that want to speak, and you did. And then the other thing, other rule that I broke is I found myself micromanaging the outcome. So one weekend, the epiphany hit, and I came in on Monday morning. I said, listen, I am out of it. Do whatever you want to do. Tell me when, where. I will be there, and I will survive it. And I did not, this is the truth. When the invitation went out to the department, I had to open my email to find out where I was supposed to be at what time. And I have not touched it since then. The Hampton Roads Incident Management Team, you guys can manage anything. I'm so proud to be a founding member of that team, served on that team since its inception. Those guys can manage anything, and those guys pulled it off. And when I pulled in the parking lot, saw those IMT trucks out there, I knew everything was going to be okay here today. I've got family here, and you know, where do you start thanking your family? I'm looking out here, and when I go back to the very beginning, and I kind of forgot about it. I didn't forget about the story so much, but my sister Phyllis is here, and my brother-in-law Harry Slaughter is here, and he's retired deputy fire chief from this department as well. And so he was a firefighter, and he came up. My original career goal was not to be in the fire department, but it was to be in the police department. And law enforcement was my career aspiration at that time. I was 18 years old, and there was only a few departments in Hampton Roads that would hire 18-year-olds at the time, and so I was just getting ready to apply to those. And it was actually my brother-in-law Harry, when we were at Phyllis's house, and she said, I remember where you were at. And Harry said, instead of applying to another city for the police department, at that time, police and fire were two divisions of the same department. It's the Department of Public Safety. And Harry said, instead of applying to them, why don't you just come into the Chesapeake Fire Department division, and then when you turn 21, do a lateral transfer into the police department, and you can take your seniority with you. And I said, yeah, that makes sense, and you know, you get some advice from somebody that's been there and done it, and that's exactly what I did. But then when I turned 21 years old, I had already been bitten by the bug of the fire service, and I had to make that career choice. Am I going to follow my career path and go into the police department, or am I going to stay in the fire department? And I really had a decision to make, and I made that decision, and I've never regretted it. I stayed. You could see where the fire service was going back in the 1970s and the early 80s. It was getting ready to explode into a whole discipline of professionalism. Now, when Chief Wright was the police chief, he said that door is open. I could come back over there anytime I wanted to. He retired. Chief Selesky says, no, we're not having you. You stay where you're at. So I ended up staying here, 49 and a half years, just because of some advice that someone gave me. My Wayside Baptist Church family, you guys mean so much to me. Thank you for being here today and supporting that. My church family, they're used to seeing me slide into home base on Wednesday nights, right at 7 o'clock in my uniform coming from work. And then they're used to when the storms come through and the bad things happen in the community, they're used to not seeing me for a long periods of time. So thank you for being there. Now I'll just go ahead and put a plug in. Christmas Eve morning, Sunday Christmas Eve morning, I'll be bringing the message at our church on Christmas Eve morning. This world is crazy. There's a lot of confusion. And if you want to help sort that out, what better way to start your holiday, Christmas Eve morning? We'd love to have you at our church, and I would love to help you sort through what is it? What is this life about? And so the invitation is there for you. City manager, deputy city managers, thank you guys for being here. Now, not too long ago, in one of the challenges, department challenges, we had like a superhero challenge. I've got a picture of Chris Price wearing that Superman shirt. So I know that's not a new shirt, it's a used shirt. But that's okay. I'm kind of a thrift store guy, so I'm okay with that. But I just want you to know, Mr. Manager, that one didn't get past me. That's called repurposing, recycling, those regifting. They got names for that, but I'm okay with that. Chesapeake Public Safety leadership is here. Chief Wright, thank you for being here. Chief Wright and I ran side by side for 13 years together. We're fortunate in the city of Chesapeake. We have never had an adversarial conflict or anything between police and fire. But it wasn't until Chief Wright and I began to work together along with Sheriff Jim O'Sullivan that we began to pull public safety together in a way that is remarkable. You will not find this in very many cities where there is no controversy and just pure cooperation and partnership on the street level, at the highest command level. City of Chesapeake citizens enjoy a public safety like no other when you put those three departments together. And a lot of that has to do with Chief Wright and the tone that you set when you and I worked together all those years. And I'll say, Chief Selesky, he's doing okay, but he's coming. But he's been good. But he has, him and Chief Branch have picked up that same mantle, and we're constantly working together for that. For fellow department directors that you're here, couldn't have a better bunch of people when we get together, especially when we have to activate the Emergency Operations Center. You got to step up, you come in there and staff that place, and you just become part of that emergency management team. I see a lot of our retirees here, a whole bunch of retirees here. And I hate it. I really hate it that you guys bailed out on me so soon in your career. I was here when you got hired, and I was there for your retirement ceremony. But thank you for scheduling the retirement schedule to come back and be here. But I want you to know that when we look back through the history of this department, a lot of you had your fingers on brick and mortar and equipment. But mostly you had your fingers on our people and poured yourself into that. And your legacy as retirees is still living on today through the young people. And I had the privilege yesterday to sit down, and we actually had group therapy, and the Recruit Academy was gracious enough to clear the room, and we put a circle of chairs, and we sat there because I wanted them When they go into their career, I wanted them to know personally the fire chief that hired them, because I will not be there for their graduation as fire chief. And we had the best discussion. And when I left there from meeting with a little over an hour with these recruits and listening to their hearts, Mr. Manager, the department is in good hands from the top to the bottom. Is those red shirts right there have that warrior spirit. They have the servant's heart. And I just left there so encouraged that we're still getting the job done at the Recruit Academy. So thank you guys for your time yesterday. And Chief Center was up here from Chesterfield. Chief Pravitz from Virginia Beach, Chief Baraki from Suffolk. They're having a major call. He had to respond to that. But chief officers all over. I got a phone call this morning. One of the chiefs had emergency surgery. He couldn't make it. But just the chief officers, the regional fire chiefs, we've become a brotherhood and a sisterhood. Hampton Roads, we do so much good, not just for our cities, but when you look at automatic aid and mutual aid and those things that we've implemented as a regional chiefs group, we have done a lot of good for this community, and that legacy is going to live on as you guys pick up the phone. There's another generation of fire chiefs, and when you pick up that phone, whether you need a ladder truck or an engine, you get it, and that's just the way that we do business here. And then I want to thank our Chesapeake Fire Department members, the active members. You cannot be an effective leader without people that their head is not in the game. And we were talking with the recruits yesterday, and they're starting to go out and do their station time. And they were telling me the caliber of the people that they get to work with on the street. And they're coming back impressed that the team on the street is investing in them already. I see the life saves and the reports that we're getting. And as long as I've been in this business, I am absolutely amazed to see what we're doing with EMS and the life saves, and that we are, 5 years ago, these people would not be surviving. And in this city, across this city, there are kids that still have their mom and dad and grandmothers, grandfathers, family members, because of what the troops are doing out there on the street every single day. Steve, thank you for your remarks. You were pushing me to that emotional thing that I was trying to keep behind the gate there. We go back a long way. I mean, a long way. But you reminded me of a couple of things as I was listening to you. How do you know if someone is your close friend? And a couple of ways. One is they temper the stories in public. When Steve Best is speaking, I am on the edge of my seat, and it's like, don't go there, don't say it, don't bring that one up. And when you can have someone with that many stories and they temper it and hold it back, that's a close friend. And then the second way you can tell if it's a close friend is when we have those senior moments, we text each other and say, hey, do you remember, what's that guy's name? And so we lean on each other with those senior moments. Most days one of us are on our game. Some days neither one of us are, but we help each other out. But I will say this, there's a last speech coming at one of our funerals. One of us is going to speak at the other's funeral. And buddy, that's a no holds bar day. I just want to let you know, you need to get tickets for that funeral. If you want to hear all the stories will come out that day. So the next generation of leadership, I look at the recruits, I look at our succession management plan, I look at Chief Golisano getting ready to take the reins in just a few weeks. This department is in good hands. For 26 years, beginning with Chief Best, back in 1997 with me, 1998 with him, and for the for the next 26 years, we have worked together to build a culture of trust and respect and integrity. And our top priorities in the Chesapeake Fire Department internally has always been firefighter health and safety and keeping our people safe and alive. Externally, it's always been excellence in customer service. We have built a department that is driven by values and not policies and procedures. And every member of the Chesapeake Fire Department is important, and every member of this department, including the red shirts, has a seat at the table. Although they don't feel like they have a seat at the table right now, but they will. And I'm absolutely confident that Chief Golisano and that staff that's stepping up in a few weeks will continue the legacy that this department has built. We have been through some hard times together. We have embraced, we have consoled, and we have cried with one another in the emergency room, in the funeral homes, in the church sanctuaries, and at the cemetery. But those tears only made us stronger. We were doing peer support before it had a name. And thankfully, the good times far outweigh the bad times. There are thousands and thousands of memories and stories, some of them true, most of them exaggerated. Some can be shared in public, many cannot be shared in public, and it's best to keep secrets. But not just in our department, but in other city departments and the civic groups. I've had the privilege, and I say privilege, to work with some of the most intelligent and dedicated people anywhere. I continue to be amazed by their commitment to this city and to make the city a better place. Chesapeake truly is the city that cares. It truly is. Former city manager Dr. Clarence Cuffey would be so glad to know that his vision is now a reality. In my 14 years as fire chief, it's been a privilege to work with several great city managers. Mr. William Harrell, I don't think he's here yet, but he's going to be here this afternoon. He's the city manager that hired and appointed me as fire chief, and we literally stood up and shook hands across the desk, and he asked me if I would stay for 2 more years. That was 14 years ago. And then that rascal left right after that. And I still remind him of that, of who broke the bargain. And then 7 years with Mr. Jim Baker, who's here. And Jim drove in 6 or 8 hours to be here today as my former boss, and they don't come any better than Jim Baker. Most of you are enjoying new logistics center, brand new Fire Station 7, brand new Fire Station 10, Fire Station number 8 under construction, Fire Station number 11 under construction, land acquisition for Station 16, land acquisition for Station 4. And the list goes on because we had a city manager at that time that shared and supported our vision for a fire station replacement plan that would take us into the future. And that was you, Mr. Baker. Thank you so much for that support. And then most recently, I've had the privilege to work with Mr. Chris Price. He mentioned it, but he only mentioned one side of the story. But when he first got here, I made the mistake, as we had our very first orientation meeting together, one-on-one meeting, I made the mistake of telling him how progressive and proficient our Office of Emergency Management was. And I made the mistake of saying, we can handle anything that's thrown our way. That was about 2 months before COVID-19 pandemic, if y'all remember that. I can't tell you how many times in the next year and a half I thought to myself, I wish I hadn't told him that. But apparently we kind of pulled that one off too. To our current former CFD command staff, the chiefs, officers, civilian support members, you are an absolutely amazing team that works so hard to keep this big machine running as it should. You've made my job so much easier, even during those times when I have probably made your job more difficult and stressful, and I know that. I get more credit, a lot more credit than I deserve, but it's because of you. and I'm surrounded by remarkable people every day that I come to work. I've tried to spoil and soften up Chief Sam so he won't be so hard on you after I'm gone. And you can let me know how that goes, but I'm going to miss all of you in the office. In May of 1974, I walked into the front door of Fire Station 8 in Deep Creek as an 18-year-old rookie firefighter. And next Wednesday, December 20th, I plan to walk out that exact same door, this time as a seasoned fire chief, happy, healthy, and no regrets whatsoever. The exact same station, the exact same shift, go B shift. But when you think about that, that is the stuff that fairy tales are made of. And I've made the statement many, many times over the last several months, if there's another fire chief in America that's been more blessed than I've been blessed, I've yet to meet them. When you reflect back over almost a half a century of serving in the Chesapeake Fire Department, how do you encapsulate all of that into some sort of meaningful remarks at a time like this? And the answer is you can't. And so I won't try it. But I'll conclude where I began, and that's by simply saying thank you. Thank you for teaching me the right way to make up a bed, the right way to fill out a station logbook, the right way to wash dishes, the right way to climb a ladder, and the right way to make crazy hot firehouse chili. Thank you for showing me why it's important to always lock your chief's car when you park at a fire station, or why it's important to turn your fire boots upside down and shake them before you put your feet in them, or always check the lid on the pepper shaker to make sure it's screwed on before you put pepper on your food. And always check the bed slats before you lay down at night. These have been important lessons in life to me. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this incredible brotherhood and sisterhood we call the American Fire Service. There is nothing else on earth like it. Thank you for being patient with me when my leadership visions and dreams look like nightmares to you. Thank you for reminding me that we have the most serious mission in the world, but we don't have to take ourselves too serious. Thank you for letting me drive the fire truck. Most of all, thank you for letting me be your fire chief these last 14 years. And thank you all for making this day so special as I enter my next chapter in life. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Fire Chief. Thank you for sharing those words with us. So as we wrap up today, I do want to, again, put a little plug in for those QR codes I mentioned a few times, but take advantage of that. Again, we want to collect those memories with Fire Chief, so those are things that he'll be able to look back on over his retirement and enjoy that. So take advantage of that. Again, I want to thank several folks that have made today possible. Again, we've mentioned the IMT team, but they're all over here in the gray shirts. They did a wonderful job helping to pull this whole event together. along with Kimberly and Michelle. And I see Miss Becky back there too. She's done a wonderful job. Thank you, ladies. Throughout the event, I'm not sure we had mentioned it earlier, but we've been live streaming the whole thing, and it's also being recorded. So I know there's family and friends that are out there watching. So thank you to our video team for doing that for the fire chief, and that'll be another memory that he'll be able to look back on. So we're going to wrap up today. We still have plenty of food, still got plenty of cupcakes, so make sure you enjoy what we've got left over there. And again, we're here till 5 o'clock, so please spend some time with the fire chief. He wants to get around and talk to each of you. So again, thank you for coming here, and Fire Chief, enjoy that retirement. Thank you.